Good morning or afternoon, depending on which language arts class is watching. I hope you guys are off to a good start today, giving your sub your best self, and getting ready for a wonderful weekend. Today, you guys are going to be completing your reading assessment, which we have been practicing for quite a while now. You guys have been reading a lot of different arguments. You've been writing your own arguments, so you guys should be good to go today as you evaluate an author's argument. Your desk should be cleared of everything except the items that you guys see listed here. You do need a pen or a pencil out. You are going to need 3 highlighters, pens, markers, pencils, whatever it is. You need 3 different colors. You also need the article on youth sports out, as well as your rubric, which has the graphic organizer on the back, and your response sheet. So those several different items should be out, and I'm going to walk you guys through what your reading assessment is going to look like this morning. So for starters, go ahead and take a look at your rubric. You guys will see on the very top of the page there are very clear directions. If you guys have any questions at all today, please check here first. Obviously, you can ask your sub, you can ask Mrs. Collins, you can ask Mrs. Sapp if you have questions, but a lot of those questions should be answered if you guys read the directions. So 3 different steps on what you guys are going to be doing today. The first step, you're going to be reading through 2 articles. They're 2 very short articles, and as you read them, you need to annotate them, just like we've been practicing in class. You're going to annotate the articles on youth sports using 3 different colors for 3 different things. 1 color for the author's claim, 1 color for the author's reasons, and 1 color for the author's evidence. Just like we do in class, please create a key for me that tells me what color represents what. So pink for claim, blue for reasons, and yellow for evidence. Whatever it might be, create that key for me up at the top of your article. On top of those 3 colors, you guys should also be marking any bias, any stereotyping, any extra examples or humor or whatever else the author is using in the article. So if you flip over to your article, Have Youth Sports Become Too Intense? One of the articles is titled Yes. This whole section is 1 article. So you're going to mark the author's claim, the author's reasons, and the author's evidence for Mark Han, who says, yes, youth sports have become too intense. Then you're going to read the second article by Nathan Patton, who says, no, youth sports have not become too intense. You're going to mark his claim, his reasons, his evidence, all of which support his argument. So reading through these 2 articles and annotating them as you go. That is step 1 for your reading assessment today. Step 2, you guys are going to choose 1. Everyone highlight or circle or star. Choose 1 of the arguments. That means you can choose the yes article or you can choose the no article. Maybe whichever one made the most sense to you or whichever one you feel like you can evaluate best, because step number 2, you're going to choose 1 of those arguments and you're going to complete the graphic organizer. This graphic organizer is on the back page of your rubric. So if you turn to the back of this page, you guys will see an organizer that takes you through 1 article, just 1 of them, not both, just 1. So once you choose which article you want to focus on, you're going to outline the author's claim in your own words. You're going to tell me, what is the author arguing? What's his main point? What is the so what? What is the argument? What is the author's claim? The author's position on this issue. Second thing you guys are going to do is outline the author's different reasons. You are going to, there might be more than 3 different reasons, but you're going to outline 3 of those reasons. So I'm going to walk through one with you. You're going to look for reason number 1, and you're going to write that out here. Then you're going to tell me, is this reason strong or is this reason weak? You're going to circle one of those 2 options. Then you're going to cite that reason. Give me an example straight from the text. Then, of course, you are going to explain that example. How is it strong or how is it weak? Notice that you guys are giving me ACE for each part of your answer. What is the reason? Is it strong or weak? Give me an example, cite from the text, and then explain, explain how it is strong or how it is weak. You're going to do that for 3 different reasons. Then you're going to go down to the evidence. The evidence that you see, the box under each one of the reasons, should link to the reason. So reason number one and evidence number one should go together. These two things should support each other. Reason number two, evidence number two, these two things should support each other. Same for reason number three and evidence number three. You're going to look for a piece of evidence that supports the reason, and again, you're going to tell me, is it strong or is it weak? You're going to circle one of these options. Then I want you to cite the text. Give me an example of that piece of evidence. And then E, explain, is this evidence strong or is this evidence weak? Some good questions to ask yourself. When you're looking at reasons, do the reasons make sense? Are the reasons logical? Can you take the author seriously when he is stating his different reasons? Are they something that you can follow? Do the reasons connect to the claim? Those would be some good questions to ask yourself when you're evaluating the reasons. For evidence, like we talk about all the time, is there enough evidence? Is it reliable evidence? Is the evidence credible? Does the author tell you what source it comes from? Is the evidence based on fact or is the evidence based on opinion? Those are some good questions to ask yourself when you're trying to determine, is the evidence strong or is the evidence weak? Down at the bottom, last thing you guys need to do is look for one example of bias or one example of stereotyping. Just one example. I want you to look at that bias or that stereotyping and I want you to tell me, does it strengthen the argument or does it weaken the argument? Remember, bias is not always a bad thing. Sometimes bias shows us that the author is more credible. That would make the argument stronger. But sometimes the bias is based way too much on experience and you can't take the author seriously, and that weakens the argument. So you're going to tell me, what example are you choosing? Write out that example. Tell me if it's strong or weak, and then I want you to explain how is it strong or how is it weak. This is your second step of your reading assessment today. Step number 3 is the most important step, and it is the step that you should spend most of class time on today. Step 3, you are evaluating the author's argument. So whatever argument you chose for number 2, you're going to pick the same one for argument number 3. You guys are going to spend all that time filling out this organizer. Make sure you stick with the same argument for number 3. This is where you guys have a choice on your assessment. Some of you are going to choose to challenge yourself, and you're going to pick up the response sheet that has all lines, and you're going to fill this out completely on your own. You're going to challenge yourself as a writer. I still give you the same outline. I ask you a bunch of questions that you have to answer. All these bullet points right here tell you exactly what you need to include in your answer, but you're going to answer on your own. Others of you, if you're not comfortable with that step yet, that is totally fine. There's another option, that fill in the blank option that we've been practicing with in class together. Whichever one you choose, the bullet points are the same. It asks you the same questions. It gives you the same amount of space to answer those questions. So we're going to take a look at those questions. Your answer needs to include quite a few things. Take a look at these things with me. Number 1, you're going to look at the author's claim. Is the author's claim strong or is the author's claim weak? Of course, you're going to explain why. Then you're going to look at the author's reasoning. Are the author's reasons strong or are they weak? Explain why. Then you're going to look at the author's evidence. Is the evidence strong or is the evidence weak? Of course, you're going to explain why. Every time that you explain why, you need to use evidence to support your answer. That evidence is not only in the article, but if you did a good job on the organizer, everything you need to answer this question is in the organizer. So if you do a good job on step 1 and you do a good job on step 3, it's going to help you for step 3. Next thing I want you guys to do, does the author show any bias or any stereotyping? Give me an example, explain, is it strong, is it weak? And the last thing, how else does the author distinguish his or her perspective from the position of others? Basically, what are some of those author choices? Are they using personal examples? Are they telling you stories? Are they using humor? What is the author doing to make their argument kind of stand out from other people's arguments? Again, if you choose the lined paper, all these questions are here for you. If you choose the fill in the blank, not only are those questions there for you, but I also kind of further outline how you should be answering this. The reasoning section you'll see, the evidence section you'll see on the back page, bias or stereotyping, and then last, what does the author do to distinguish their argument from others? Guys, I know that this seems like a lot, and it really is a lot. You guys are combining a lot of different skills today, but we have practiced these over and over and over again. I want you to be confident in your work today. We've practiced this. We've practiced each step of this, and a lot of you guys have gotten 100% on each of the practices, which means that you can feel really confident about aiming for that 100% today. The last thing, I know this is a long video, the last thing I want to show you guys before you get started is your rubric. 20 of the 40 points for this assessment is based on your ability to evaluate. Basically to explain, does the author have a strong argument or a weak argument? Explaining why, and notice that it says providing evidence to support your claim. Are you pulling quotes from the article to support what you are saying in your answer? 10 of the 40 points is all about bias or stereotyping. Can you find a piece and can you explain it well? Remember guys, when we explain things, that's in 3 to 5 sentences. So, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. When you are explaining in your response where it says this shows, I gave you quite a few lines because you need to include 3 to 5 sentences to explain what your example shows. Please don't forget the things that we've practiced over and over again. Last part of your grade is on the author's purpose. Can you find one thing that the author does to distinguish their argument? One thing that shows their perspective or shows their purpose. Maybe it's something personal, maybe it's something professional. What's one extra thing the author does to make their argument unique? That is all the information I can even think to give you for your reading assessment today. If you have any questions, please ask them. Think back to all the practices that we've done in your reading and your writing, and good luck today, guys. You should be pros at this by now. Take your time, you have the whole block. Be confident, show me all of your thinking. Anything that you think about as you're annotating the article, write it out. Anything that you think about when you're doing the graphic organizer, write it out. Anything that you're thinking about when you're evaluating the argument, please write it down. I want to know exactly how you guys are reading through this and evaluating, is the author strong or weak in his argument. Good luck, get ready for an awesome weekend, and I will see you guys next week.